Welcome to the Lead Gen Leaders Podcast, connecting you to the leading minds in home improvement to discuss all things marketing and leadership. And now, your host, Kyle Powers.
Welcome to the Lead Gen Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Powers. Today's guest has spent over 10 years perfecting his service to the home improvement industry. Here today for Marlimar to talk all about texting and how it can help your home improvement company, Mark Highbaugh. Hello, Mark.
Hey, Kyle, how you doing?
I'm doing well, and yourself today?
Doing good.
Awesome. Well, I'm really excited to have you on the show today and talk about something that I feel has gotten really popular the last couple of years, and that is using texting in the lead generation process and conversion process of leads in the home improvement industry. And we're even going to talk about some other ways you can utilize it in your business to further move along. So, hey, welcome to the show. But before we get started talking about all things texting, Mark, could you give the listeners a little background, kind of who you are and how you arrived there at Marlimar to talk about texting?
Sure. Kyle, I've had Marlimar now for 10 years. I founded it when I found the need to really meet consumer expectations. I'm a contractor myself, Kyle. For over 19 years, I was in home improvement. And what I constantly saw, whether it was from my own company, unfortunately, or other companies, is missed consumer expectations. And so I started this company based on let's focus on the consumer. How can we please the consumer the most? How can we build a concierge level of communication to them where they feel like the company really cares about them? So that's really what we founded the basis of the company on, and home improvement's just really taken off for our business.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I stated in the opening there, you know, it's certainly getting more and more popular every day, at least from what I see with speaking with clients. Are you seeing that same kind of thing?
Oh, absolutely. Just about every home improvement company, large and small, from less than $1 million to over $100 million, are finding that text messaging to consumers is essential for really the overall experience for the consumer, as well as for productivity and sales. It can't be ignored today. You know, Kyle, it's funny. Never has there been a time when every single person in the U.S. has a cell phone in their hand, or most of them even have it at their nightstand while they sleep. That phone is within arm's reach almost 24/7. But at the same time, never has there been a time when communications is more difficult. Kyle, without even knowing your behavior, I suspect that if you received a call right now from a number you didn't recognize, I bet you wouldn't answer it. You wouldn't answer it because, first of all, it's inconvenient. It's not the time you choose. Second of all, it's not a number that you recognize, and you don't know if it's spam or not, because there's so many spam calls out today. So that's what makes text messaging so essential for home improvement companies today.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. You know, if we could have a magic wand and just wave it and have one thing happen for home improvement companies, especially in the contact side of it, when you're trying to reach out and get a hold of clients, and that's just to have them answer every time you call, we would be very wealthy, Mark. So
I agree. I hear from a lot of clients when I start talking to them to begin with. They say to me, well, you know, here's our pattern. When we get a lead come in, we make a phone call. And if we don't get an answer, we send an email. And then an hour later, we make another phone call. And an hour later, we make another phone call. And an hour later, we make another phone call. And I said to them, let me just ask you a personal question. If you submitted information on something, and then you started getting a call from people you don't know, but repetitive, hour after hour after hour, what would you do? Yeah. And it's so funny because when you ask that to the person, they say, well, I'd probably block the number. I said, yeah. Why don't you use a form of communication that they're going to see, they're going to acknowledge where it came from, and they are going to choose when's best to reply back? How about that?
Yeah, as well as people not even listening to their voicemails. I mean, how many people that just have tens or hundreds of unlistened to voicemails in a day? or week that they never get back to. So leaving that voicemail even on that call. Well, I left them a voicemail. They know who I am. I don't, they wanted the information. Why aren't they answering?
Kyle, I read a stat last year that said only 17% of Americans are listening to their voicemails. And I thought that's just artificially low. That's not a good stat. But it was a national poll that was done. And I started asking other people, including my own wife. I said, don't you think that's a low stat? That stat should be higher. And my wife said, I don't ever listen to my voicemails. And I ran into more and more people that say no. And I actually talked about it back pre-COVID. I talked about it in one of our shows that we had, and I had a hand raised, and she said 27. I said, what is 27? She said, it took me 27 voicemails to fill up my voicemail account on my phone, and now it's just full, and I leave it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I just talking about, speaking with wives, my wife, I'm like, hey, can you give so-and-so a call? And the next thing she's doing is picking up the phone and texting them. I'm like, can't you just call them and figure it out? No, I'll text them because they won't answer the call. And that's her friend or relative or whatever. So definitely, the stats you're putting out, I can definitely see how those are accurate.
Yeah, in today's world, texting somebody is talking to them, even though there's no verbal communication being used.
Right. So getting into, where do you see companies utilizing this? Because even more so just for contact, initially and on the lead generation side of it, companies are utilizing it throughout a lot of their processes.
Yes. So let's dive into this a little bit. Our company serves home improvement companies in all aspects of homeowner communication, from initial lead generation, which is the area we probably will focus on the most, to confirmations, tech measures, production, installations, even post-sale reviews and follow-up and customer satisfaction and warranty. All of those areas of consumer touches, home improvement companies are using text messaging now and finding that they can not only be more productive with that, but they can also please that homeowner more, providing this, as I mentioned earlier, a concierge level of communication to that homeowner. And it's done differently. So, you asked me earlier, you said, tell me a company who does it wrong and tell me a company who does it right. Well, let's start with the company that does it wrong. A company that does it wrong is saying, listen, I'm going to make as many calls as is necessary, and I'm going to use text messaging, but I'm not going to do anything special with it. Matter of fact, I'm going to send it in parallel with every email I send out. And they end up sending this barrage of text messages along with their emails that they send out. And Kyle, it's terrible to what happens, because we found that if you treat text messaging in the same way you treat email, you're likely to get the very same results. And that's no result at all. But text messaging is very personal. It's the way that, Kyle, you communicate with your friends and family. You text them on a Friday night saying, hey, let's meet somewhere for dinner. Let's get together. Who wants to make the reservation? What time do you want to meet? That's a very personal and intimate two-way conversation. And for a company to enter this text messaging realm, if you want to call it that, there's some responsibilities that we have to take in order to get the best results. Our company is a believer that you should never send more than one text message in a day to a consumer, whether it's for a lead or whether it's for an appointment reminder or something like that, that they're going to see. Statistics show, and everybody knows it, everybody reads their text messages. Almost 100% read rate. So if they're not responding to that first text message, they've seen it and they've chosen not to respond to it. So we have one shot at being the best we can be with the text message that goes out. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. I definitely agree with that. I can remember like Tim Mush from Market Sharp, it just brought up the idea that, when you're reaching out to, consumers on that marketing level, you can touch them 12 to 15 times a year, but you can't do it all with just calls or all with just direct mail or all with just email. That, you got to change it up, and through that changing up, you're able to reach them and not seem like you're bombarding them, even though you're getting them 12 to 15 times. So in that year. And so using that one text message, I mean, if I got, 5 calls and 5 texts in a day from somebody that was marketing to me, I would probably be a little upset by that.
Yeah, the companies that do it right, they're the ones that understand that it's not about the company. It's about the communication to that person, to that individual. And they, in order to treat it as a personal transaction, a personal communication, these companies that do it right, they address them by name. Kyle, hi, Kyle, you requested information from us. Let's make it personal from the get-go. Secondly, they've learned, and we're helping them accomplish this, that we can send text messages from their callback landline number. So the very number that they may have called this lead out on to follow up with them, that number that lead decided not to answer because they didn't recognize the phone number, that very same phone number they can send a text message out with. And it can address you by name and say, you know what, I'm following up in a request that you submitted or you made for this type of home improvement product. We can help you and answer your questions right now. Call me back or reply with a good time for me to call you back, and we'll do that. Now, that is a personal communication. That is likely to get a response back. And isn't that the game? Isn't that what we're trying to do, is get responses from leads?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the name of the game right there. Just get them back so we can, go on the next step in that journey, which is to qualify them, make sure they fit, and we can help them and serve them and get them on the next step of the journey, which is getting a designer salesperson out to their house to hopefully sell the project.
We've had a lot of home improvement companies report to us before 2020, report to us that by using text messaging in a personal manner, that they have seen increases in set rates of 10 to 15%. And furthermore, on top of that, they've seen increases in confirmation rates of 10 to 12%. And I say that's pre-2020 because guess what? The stats have gotten far, far better since all this coronavirus stuff has taken place. So now the conversion rates are much, much higher with text. So much so, and I won't list names, but some very, very large companies are now making the decision that we're going to lead with text message every time. So when someone makes a lead, an inquiry into the company for product, they're going to send an immediate text message out and saying, thank you for your inquiry. This is such and such company. We can help you to answer your questions. Feel free to call us, but you'll be receiving a phone call from this number. It's a tee-up. It's teeing up the phone call that's getting ready to come. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And that was something I wanted to talk about in this conversation we're having here for the podcast, is that I'm starting to see clients that are doing just that the first thing that happens is, boom, that text message goes out. And it is increasing, that answer rate, or getting a text back, no, now's not a good time, call me back at, that kind of stuff. And so that's where I think, a system such that you provide, Mark, to tie it into outbound numbers and to really manage that is the way to go, is definitely the way to go. The more sophisticated I believe that you can get with, numbers matching and kind of that streamlined service, the better. So I'm seeing some of that same things out in the field. Especially, as we like to say at Tony Hody Training and Consulting, is the COVID contact rate. So it has been easier to essentially, canvassing, things like that. People are home, they're working from home, but they're still just as busy. They're still just screening their calls and things like that. So to be able to lead with that is definitely a great point, Mark.
Yeah, I've heard this year from a lot of companies that getting leads is not an issue. They've been getting lots and lots of leads. Contacting the leads, making that connection with them, that's where the challenge has really become difficult this year, because it's still very tough to get them to answer the phone. And at least, especially in the last couple of months with all this political canvassing going on with text messaging and phone calls,
yeah,
it's become very difficult. So we're seeing that text message has a very special role. And so again, that special role would include being personal with the text message, would include sending it from a callback landline number that can be used technologically speaking. Send it with a logo or a picture of a rep going out to the house. We hear commonly that home improvement companies say, my client is willing to set an appointment, but they want to know who's coming to the house. They want to know their name ahead of time so they can ask it before they open that door. Well, how about not just only providing a name in a text message, but providing a picture of that rep as well? Now that's going to diffuse any anxiety that the customer feels before they open that door, and hopefully giving that sales rep a better chance at penetrating that sale and making it go.
Well, again, and just making it even, kind of more seamless, more professional. We're coming into their home, their private space. So the more professional that we make it, they see that text message of the salesperson that's coming out to the home, who it is, teeing up that appointment. That stuff helps tremendously. Absolutely tremendously.
Yeah. So I would be remiss though, we've talked about the importance of meeting the consumer where they are with their cell phone through text messaging and using the techniques that we just talked about. But that is only one part of the formula. We tell our clients services using text message are going to, if they're done right, they're going to increase your sales for sure, 100%. I have the stats to show it. They're going to also improve that customer experience, which you can't put a number on, but that's probably equally as important as a sale. But the third piece to that formula is productivity. It's going to make your team so much more productive. And if done correctly, we can have interconnected technology that will allow our company and others like that to connect to the technology, your CRM or your auto dialer or whatever technology you're using. And interconnected technology today, I believe, is the way of the 2020s. Because with that, from an auto dialer's perspective, you make a call, no one answers, and an auto dialer automatically logs that into their system, like Five9 is an example.
Yep.
And Five9 allows a system like ours to automatically detect that within a second and automatically generate a text message out to the person. So within seconds of a phone call not being answered, a text message is launched from the very same phone number explaining who just tried calling. And that's done automatically with no user intervention. That is powerful. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. Anytime that you can automate and just make it happen and take essentially human error, out of the equation and control your process the way that you want it to be done, is when you can really, up those conversion numbers. And, for the contractor that may just be, heard it texting may work, and they're, maybe just grabbing their own personal cell phone to shoot a text out because they're a, one-man, operation or just a couple of people, and they're seeing an uptick of it. They may forget on this one to, to send the text message out, or, miss their process because they get busy. And then it's really hard to figure out what's really working and what's not. So to be able to automate, to have your CRMs, your dialers, and all those things working and talking together, that's really, where you see the best results.
Yeah, many of the CRMs today are allowing our company and ones like ours to not just extract information and send text messaging on behalf of the company, but also post back the results. And with some CRMs, a Salesforce-based CRM specifically, we can even get an affirmation back from a customer, like for an appointment. Reply yes to accept this appointment at 9 a.m. this morning. And when they reply yes, we can change the disposition within the CRM automatically for them. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, that's really cool.
I'll tell you one more piece about technology, and then we'll get off that. So we've learned how important it is to never miss a response from a customer when they respond back via text. But we've also learned that while we have a great interface some companies can't manage multiple interfaces at one time, but they do look at their emails, and often because of leads coming in and so forth. So we've allowed a notification to be sent via email if a customer replies, showing what that reply was, and even the home improvement company can reply to that email, and the email reply will translate it back in to a text message to the customer. So they can be managing their emails, respond to an email, and that email response goes back to the customer via text message. For all they know, it was just simply a text back and forth.
Yeah, I've actually used some of that functionality before, and that's great. That's great. As you got a dialer or a phone room person sitting at their computer, and yes, they have to check their emails for those inbound leads coming in and things like that. And to not have to have them learn a whole nother system is really nice.
Yeah.
So
Mark, I would love to talk.
Oh, go ahead.
I would love to talk about a company that really does it right.
Yes, absolutely. What does that look like?
So we have a couple of companies, and I mentioned it just briefly before, that have made the decision that we want to lead with text messaging rather than phone calls, which is a company decision. But more so than that, through technology, they've made the decision that they don't want any manual text messages sent out initially, to make sure, as you mentioned, that there's never a miss, that every lead gets a text message. Every homeowner gets a reminder. Every person understands what's going on in the process in the system is consistent every time. And through interconnected technology, we've been able to do just that with every aspect, whether it's lead generation, confirmations, installation, or post-sale reviews. It can all be done automatically and without a user inside the company launching that message to begin with. Now, that's the right way of doing it. And that way, all the company personnel need to do is be on alert to respond to questions that come in via text in a number of manners. That gets them high productivity. And frankly, it eliminates the need of extra personnel.
Absolutely. And so, again, tying all the technology together is what really makes that all happen. Yes, it does take a little bit of more, work up front to get it going. But once it's going, the fruits of that labor just really show. So, Mark, we talked a lot, about that front end, that lead conversion, and that confirmation. Outside of that front end of the home improvement business where people are utilizing texting, where else are you seeing them have, some good advancements with using texting in their processes?
Sure. So let's talk about, I'll kind of walk through it a little bit. We'll leave lead generation. Confirmations now, we're seeing big companies confirming via text, and they start out 2 days before sending a confirmation that just requests them to call for questions. Because we all know the promises that a good home improvement company wants to make or receive before they send a sales rep out.
Yep.
So by getting that confirmation text going out ahead of time, the call center or confirmation people are only receiving calls, not chasing people with calls. So that's powerful also. And then as we get into the production end of it, this is where common messages like you get from a haircut appointment or a doctor's appointment. You can get a text message confirming your appointment. You can get a text message the day of that's a reminder. And as I mentioned, it can even have a reminder of the time and date, but also the name of the rep coming out to the house and a picture of the rep. We even have the ability to send a link that contains content about the rep. Hey, Kyle's been a sales rep for 5 years with this company. He has 2 kids and a dog and lives in Northern Illinois. Whatever the answer is, but just trying to diffuse any anxiety that exists. We also see quite commonly companies wanting to deliver information to the homeowner that they need to use in preparation for the installation. For example, very commonly a company will send us a Word document that says they'd like us to send that out on behalf of them to help the homeowner prepare for a window installation. And so it says things like, cover your bushes, move your furniture away from the windows, take down your drapes and blinds. That way, when we're there, we can be most productive and get the job done. That helps both the homeowner and the company. And those documents being sent out can be viewed by the phone, and they can simply go from window to window to window to window to make sure they have everything prepared. Also, review requests. You've heard me mention that. We can automatically launch review requests out at every stage of the life cycle of a homeowner. So if a sales rep goes to the house but doesn't make the sale, what better time to send out a review request, but a review request that only is an internal type a model that says, hey, how did we do today? On a scale of 1 to 5, how did we do? And only if they say we did great would then they have a chance to put a public review out. But if they said, no, this sales rep was not effective, I don't know if we want to buy, now you have ammunition to go back to them and say, let's fix the problem that took place. Let's help you buy some windows from us, or whatever the product is.
Yeah, I definitely could see how that could help with the rehash process for sure.
Yeah. Service. So, technology is so vast today via text message. We now have the ability to allow customers to text in photos. So we established this for a service basis so that customers in warranty conditions can take pictures of showers that aren't closing properly, or windows that don't lock, and things like that are warranty type issues. And they can send them into the company, and the company can then manage them and process them and so forth. And we've got a whole system for that as well. But we're also now seeing on the front end leads wanting to show the lead setter from the company how terrible their house looks, how terrible my bathroom looks. You can't help me with this, can you? And while the lead setter, the person trying to set that appointment, really doesn't care about seeing a photo, boy, it's powerful for the homeowner to be able to communicate via pictures what's going on. So those are some of the ways that we're seeing it used on the back end as well. We've seen it used for, mass messaging can be sent out. Rehash. We haven't even talked about demo, no sale, rehash, repetitive messaging in a systematic manner. Those messages are very commonly being sent out now. And technology allows for, as soon as the customer replies with the text message, to stop the repetitive messages that go out, during the week and so forth, to try to reset an appointment. So I've been kind of rambling with a lot of different things that text messaging can do, Kyle. But anything particular you'd like to ask me about?
Yeah, no, that's great. I just wanted to let you keep going because you're offering a lot of great, ideas that you're stimulating for the listeners to be able to incorporate in their business and get better things at it. One thing you didn't touch on that we kind of talked about in our pre-call is I have a client right now that's starting to use text messaging. We looked at when it comes to recruiting. That's one of the biggest questions that myself as a consultant going to, seminars and different places like that is always, how do you recruit people? What's the magic bullet there? And it's interesting, the contact rate, when someone says a resume in and you call out to get them, it always amazed me that people don't answer the phone. It's like, what? You're trying to find a job and you won't answer the phone. But as we've talked about earlier, we know why that is. That's just the kind of the common thing that people don't, they screen that call and look for that voicemail or don't listen to the voicemail at all. And so we instituted some texting processes, with inside of recruiting, as well as, reverse resume lookup, finding people that maybe don't even know that you're going to be calling because they didn't apply to you, and just shooting out a text message like, hey, Mark, got a second to chat? And that's able to, hey, who is this? And then you're into that conversation with them, about recruiting them. So what are you seeing on your end when it comes to using texting for recruiting?
Yes, we're seeing it being used by home improvement companies quite a bit, much less a lot of other companies. Ultimately, a recruiter looking to hire a job seeker is nothing more than a different type of lead. It's
Absolutely.
A different type of lead generation. And the very same principles that are used in reaching and getting a listing response, getting a response out of a homeowner for a lead, is the very same principles that need to be used in job seeking as well. It's not uncommon for text messaging to be used in recruiting today, but it's uncommon for it to be used in an intelligent manner. It's used in a very basic manner, and it gets some results. But again, text messaging done in the same manner as email will get a similar result when it comes to responses. It has to be done with a different approach, one that is personalized, even to this job seeker. But we see, here's what's cool. As you know, when you get a text message, if someone texts you an address, that address is linkable, that you can touch it with your phone and open up a map that shows where that address is. How awesome to be able to do that with recruiting, to be able to send an address. This is where your interview is tomorrow at 2 p.m. Click here to GPS locate it. Isn't that cool?
Yes, absolutely. And I have some clients that utilize texting where they want the recruit that's coming in to text the morning of, essentially to reserve, their interview spot, because especially with a lot of the entry level type positions, they get a lot of people that don't show up for the interview. And so they spend, their day sitting around half the day, and only half the time people show up. And so what they've found with that is that when they utilize that, please text me, the morning of your interview to reserve your spot, they find the people that text in that morning show up. The ones that don't rarely do. And it kind of helps them plan their day better. So just a little utilization like that is, kind of really changed how they can plan their day out and go about their business.
Even using text messaging in, I don't know what you'd call it, Kyle, but canvassing job postings, if you want to call it that, whereby you look for good candidates through Indeed or one of the other job posting places, and then send text messages out saying, I see your resume on this site. If you have an interest in this type of job, please text back. Even initializing some communication to job seekers via text can be very powerful.
Yeah, and that's the one that I was kind of bringing up, that outbound search, where you're going out to, just like you said, canvas to go get them and draw them to your company is where I can see that utilized a lot.
Yeah. But again, people are so suspect today, and rightfully so, of spam and unwanted text messages, much less unwanted phone calls. So it's important that that text message that goes out is as specific, concise, and relational as possible. So call them by name. That way they know that they're not one in a million getting a text message. Speak to the very job that you have rather than just a job. That way they know that they are a fit for that job. It's not just someone trying to get more people to call in.
Absolutely. Well, Mark, that kind of is bringing us to the last segment of the show here, Power's Powerful Point. What powerful point do you have for the listeners today?
Well, my powerful point is this. I think, Kyle, every company knows that texting is important today. I think almost every company realizes that. But text messaging is not text messaging is not text messaging. And Kyle, I'd really recommend that people consider the methodology that they use in communicating via text, because the way they do it can fundamentally transform the results they get from it. And using a specific approach with a specific goal in mind, and I'm being general in saying these, but I think we've talked about all the specifics already.
Yep.
That approach will get the result that these companies are really desiring. They don't want to waste time chasing leads. We didn't talk about this, Kyle, but I've got multiple companies that call me and say, we've been wasting time calling our own homeowners who signed a contract. They won't answer our calls, but yet they've signed a contract and put a deposit down. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So
that's how it is today, though.
My PowerPoint would be is that use texting intelligently. Communicate to that consumer the way you would want to be communicated, in a personal manner, in a concierge level method that will not only make you more productive, but will make them happy that they're communicating with you and make them feel like that you care about them. That would be my PowerPoint.
Absolutely. And that's a great, powerful point there, is to really set it up the way that you want to, so you can get the most out of it. But I would even go to back that up one step further, that if you're in the home improvement industry and you're not using texting at all, Let's start there. Let's find one process that you can start to use text with to get better contact rates. And any one of those, I mean, from the very front end of lead generation, confirmation, rehash to, the back end service and even recruiting. And you can certainly reach out to someone such as myself to help with those processes. But Mark, if they were looking at wanting to utilize you in your system there at Marlimar, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, I would love to talk to everybody who hears this show. And Kyle, we're easy to contact. You can reach me, Mark, simply written 502-777-4447. Call or text me either way. Again, you're going to get my response quicker if you text me. But 502-777-4447. We'd love to talk to all of you all and at least demonstrate our approach so that you can see what we're doing with other home improvement companies that are finding it valuable.
Absolutely. And as always, you can go to TonyHody.com, reach out to us there through one of our forms on there, and we can certainly get you in touch with Mark also to help you out with all your texting needs in your business. Well, Mark, I thank you for your time today. There's a lot of golden nuggets, I think, for just about anybody that would listen to this episode at different areas in their business where they could utilize texting. So I really appreciate for your time today, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Sounds great. Take care. We'll see you.
Thank you for listening to the Lead Gen Leaders Podcast. For a free consultation on how Tony Hody Training and Consulting can assist with your home remodeling business, please visit TonyHody.com. That's TonyHoty.com. Thank you for listening.